Hi, this is Tim of the 1916 Company. Welcome and thanks for logging on. If you love this watch, email us tmosso@the1916company.com for all of your purchase pricing and availability questions concerning this watch. In 2023, de Bethune did something that had long been requested. Give us, the collectors said, a watch that is still a DB28, but maybe a little bit less weird with a little bit less size. And while de Bethune is firmly anchored in the world of the avant-garde, the prayers were answered. With a solid dial and a smaller case, the DB28 XS emerged. This is the DB28 XS Starry Seas, featuring the world's first random guilloché dial bearing the reflected image of the night sky. We have a solid dial. We have a case in grade 5 titanium that is 38.7 millimeters in diameter, 8.9 millimeters thick, and with floating lugs. You have variable lug-to-lug span of 49 millimeters, or fully compressed on a smaller wrist, 45, with a 23 millimeter spacing between the lugs. So this is really the perfect size for those who felt that de Bethune watches had a bit too much of a dominant presence on the wrist. Well, they were never terribly thick or large as rated. The presence of the lugs always meant they read larger visually. So this is a really easy watch to wear. It reads pretty close to size. Figure that if it's rated at 38.7, it sits and it fits kind of like a 40 millimeter round watch. And the spring-loaded floating lugs, which are a patented design, they help to conform not just to the size but also the shape of the wrist. It's also much thinner than the prior DB28s. They were never thick watches. Most were under 12 millimeters, but under 9 millimeters. This one is really quite slim. I'd recommend it for a wrist as small as 13.5 centimeters circumference, and it'll fit under any cuff. The strap here is a combination of ballistic textile, and then there's calfskin leather. You can see that a gusset's been sewn in to avoid gouging of the strap by the buckle, and the buckle is a simple pin buckle here. As you can see, a pin buckle, de Bethune branded, polished and satinated, titanium like the case, and this is all grade 5 titanium, which is the good stuff. It's hypoallergenic and lighter than steel, just like grade 2, but unlike grade 2, it takes a really nice polished finish, and it is more scratch resistant than standard 316 and 904L watchmaking steels. The lugs here are similar to the floating lugs that have been featured on various de Bethune models since the 2008 DB26 perpetual calendar, but they really announced their arrival in 2010 with the GPHG Aiguille d'Or winning DB28, which became the company's signature model line. In other words, if you're going to buy an Omega and just one Omega, you get a Moonwatch. If you're going to buy a Jaeger LeCoultre and just one, you get a Memovox or Reverso. The DB28 is the core de Bethune model, and winning the Aiguille d'Or, that is effectively Best Picture at the Oscars of watchmaking, it became extremely influential. The floating lugs are its calling card. They're slightly evacuated to give them a bit of a flying buttress-like appearance. Then they have this little conical profile at each tip. That is the last styling vestige of the original DB1 chronograph, the company's original product, the first product from 2002. We have a media blasted and knurled crown with a little bit of satination that's used to wind the watch. And unlike standard DB28s, this one's not a screw down, so it's easier to manipulate. Folks had asked for a crown that's easier to access. This one doesn't force you to screw it in or out for use, and it retains the same 30-meter water resistance. Now, the case is effectively a monoblock. Everything loads through the reverse side, which is why there's no seam between the case and the bezel, which creates a very clean aesthetic. You'll also note that this taper of the bezel, it tapers at the mid case, and then it expands broader at the ends. So the case is asymmetrical from end to end, only symmetrical from side to side. The dial, which is made in-house, just like the movement and the case, de Bethune is fully integrated as a vertical manufacturer. The dial features a conventional track outboard with blue-printed Arabic numerals and little indices for reading the minutes. And then we have the world's first random guilloché, where the lathes were set up randomly to create a engraving, and the random setting was then frozen so that the dials all have the same wave on them, but the machine was set up randomly for that first pass, which is why every single one of these was effectively the luck of the draw when the machine was configured. And as a result, it does crazy things with the light. You can see shades and highlights. You can see undulations that are truly random the way the sea tends to be. And there's almost the impression that you're looking at physical motion. Now, it does have some depth because the engravings have different profiles, and then we have little cabochons of white gold that form the image of the sky reflected in the water of the sea. That's the idea here. And so we'll get really close. You can see these are all three-dimensional. They're little dowels that are inserted into drillings in the dial. And so that's how the night sky on the sea is created. The hands, as with most de Bethune hands, are made in-house, polished in titanium. And then we turn the watch over, where we have an extraordinary mirror-finished cap to the barrel bridge. And then we have another cap to the base plate, and they're finished differently. So the base plate cap features what's called microlight, which is de Bethune's version of traditional reductive guilloché. But a Breguet-style rosette would not look appropriate on a watch like this. This is a little bit more forward-looking and avant-garde now. We're getting back to what makes a DB28 a DB28. So we have this microlight engraving to give you true reductive lathe guilloché, but with a look that fits the timepiece's character. And this is not a lesser DB28. It's just instead of putting the movement on the dial side, you get it on the case back. So you get the same degree of fine finish. You get a balance bridge that's rounded and mirror polished all the way around, usually a signature of Grubel Forcy. Here, de Bethune proves that it is also deft in this technique. We have a set of triple parachute springs that flank, so this is 1, 2, 3 shock protection springs for the balance, both for durability and chronometry. This is a patented system, and these springs outboard are made of steel. You can see they've been fully beveled and mirror finished. Their anchor down the center of the barrel bridge cap has been fired blue, and the barrel bridge cap itself has been mirror finished. This is what's known as black polish, and I'll show you why. Pali noir, or the idea that polished surfaces can turn black, it's one of the great feats of artisanal finish in the watch industry, but it's usually only used for very small parts. You rarely see components this large turn black, and that's why this is called black polish, because from any angle except the reflective angle, it will look absolutely black, optically smooth. It is a metal mirror. And this is generally done with either diamond paste or a zinc or a tin plate. And that's how you create this mirrored finish. And if you look at the edge of the bridges here, you'll also note that we have both the barrel bridge underneath and the cap on top, and both of them, stacked vertical, have been mirror beveled. You can see the same treatment has also been lavished on the jewel sinks, and the screw heads are all mirror finished on their top. The ratchet wheel, which is this one over here, sits atop one of the barrels. It has micro beveled teeth, which is an extraordinary refinement you typically see on super low volume watches from the likes of Grubel Forcy or Romain Gaultier or Moritz Grossmann. And then the barrel covers have been solarized. You can even see the little cap on top of the base plate where it forms a boundary around the mainspring barrels. It has been beveled there to create a mirrored shine. Truly exceptional finishing. Now, patents, many. We have twin self-adjusting barrels, manually wound, 6 days of power reserve. The mainspring in one will slip to relieve pressure, so you cannot accidentally overwind the watch. That's patented. We have triple parachute shock protection. That's patented. We have a balance made of titanium, fired blue with white gold masses in the rim. That's patented. We have a hairspring that's actually two pieces. It's first cut into two pieces. They're shaped to a patented profile created by de Bethune, and then a small clasp or clamp is used to reconnect them. The result is a shock-resistant and flat hairspring that breathes concentrically like an overcoil, and then we have a de Bethune-designed silicon escape wheel to reduce total rotating mass and also the need for lubricant and even reducing friction within the escapement. So everything here is thoughtfully executed. It's a 27 joule movement. It beats away at 4 hertz. They don't use a super tiny balance or a slow beat rate to get that exceptional 6-day power reserve. And the balance is designed, this is the 2016 patent balance, the latest. Denis Flageolet, the watchmaker and co-founder of de Bethune, he has created 10 balance wheels at least, and he is focusing on maximizing the percentage of total mass in the rim, reducing the impact of temperature change on timing, and reducing the effects of aerodynamic drag on timing. So these little weights feature a nacelle or a pod around them that is aerodynamic. You can see the finish is as fine as any in the industry, but unlike a number of merely beautiful watches, this one also has the engineering to match, and the size to fit on a smaller wrist, with a solid dial that some folks find more approachable than the open dial DB28s. If you love this watch, reach out to Team Mosso at the 1916 Company for purchase and pricing details.